Now, this malware we're talking about, the 300,000 different types a day, what kind of information is it targeting when it comes to a virtualized environment? What kind of information is vulnerable, I guess?
Pretty much everything. So there's a range of malware from the kind of things that we've seen a lot in the news recently, things like CryptoLocker, that will get onto a system and encrypt all of the data and then demand a payment to decrypt it, generally known as ransomware. But I think the kind of malware that is particularly prevalent within a virtual environment is malware that's looking to steal data, fundamentally. Be that customer record, customer information, financial information, and of course intellectual property, which in large corporate customers who are almost entirely, pretty much every one of them has a virtual environment, that intellectual property can be worth billions.
Wow. Well, now, I don't know if you have this number, but how often do corporates or business, how often do they become vulnerable? How often are hackers able to get into their information? Is there a statistic around that?
It's pretty difficult to tell, to be perfectly honest.
And I guess it's not always reported as well.
So a lot of customers don't want to report that. We hear about some of the high-profile ones, and I think generally customers are becoming a little more willing to share that experience. Some of the stigma, if you like, of having been attacked has gone away. But I don't think we see 100%. They don't get reported. But what we do know is that with that amount of malware out in the wild at any given point in time, and that's 300,000 new ones each day. That doesn't replace the stuff that was running yesterday. So this is a massively exponential increase that we're seeing. I think it's fair to say that every single corporation is under attack every day. Hopefully they're fighting it off, but some of them are going to be breached on a daily basis.
Now, how do we stop this malware from spreading and stop it from being multiplied to this magnitude that we're seeing 300,000 new ones a day, new strains of malware?
I'm not sure that we'll ever stop people writing malware. In reality, there's simply too much money to be made, and as with so many things, criminals will take the path of least resistance. And as long as there is still profit to be made, they're going to continue to do it. What we can do from a business environment is, there's a number of things. Number one, we need to implement the right technologies to try and keep the bad guys out. That's the first thing. The second thing is we should assume that they're going to get in, or that they are already in.
That's scary.
It is, but it's also fairly pragmatic. So if we take an assumption that they are going to get in, then we can utilize some additional technologies, things like encryption, to ensure that anybody who does get in can't access our valuable data, our customer records. We won't end up getting hit with the financial cost, the potential regulatory cost, and of course the damage to our reputation. If a bad guy gets in and steals encrypted data, our reputation pretty much remains intact. If they steal unencrypted data, then we've seen a variety of examples.
On top of encryption, is there anything else businesses can do?
There's really one other thing, and it's almost, I would argue, more important than the other two, which is education. We need to educate our staff, and we need to do it on an ongoing basis in a way that they will engage with, that will allow them to make the right decisions. Because ultimately, most malware today gets in either through unpatched code and vulnerabilities as a result, but in so many cases it's down to user error. And if we don't make sure that our employees really understand the importance of not visiting untrusted websites, not opening emails from untrusted sources, not opening attachments that they're not expecting to receive. Yeah, if we can prevent them doing all these things, then we can dramatically reduce the likelihood of an infection.
So when you say education, it really is just making them aware of all the different ways they can get malware on their computer by clicking clickbait and visiting different sites.
It's partly that.
Yeah.
But I think in reality, if you were to ask an end user, they probably know that malware gets to them in some cases through the wrong websites, in some cases through social media, and a lot of it, of course, through email attachments.
Right.
But the education process that we need to take them through is something that keeps this at the forefront of their mind. Because
how do you do that, though?
Well, let me start with
Okay.
I think perhaps the way a lot of companies do it today, which maybe doesn't work as well as it should, which is a new employee joins our company, and on day one, we give them a whole load of information, including a big booklet. It's probably 60 pages thick that says this is your responsibility around IT. And that's the education. We check the box, we say we've done it,
Right.
and we move on. But in reality, new employees to a company are worried about loads of stuff on that first day. They're worried about remembering everybody's name, where do they get coffee from, all these kind of things, right? And that 60-page booklet, in the best case scenario, goes into a filing cabinet and gets read at some point down the line.
Maybe.
Yeah. But in a worst case scenario, it goes into the bin.
Yeah.
Whereas if we ensure that we're educating them through a more continual process, every few months we do something interactive with them that allows them to see the risks and the exposures and keep security at the top of their mind, then I think they're much more likely to behave in the way that we want them to, as opposed to, I did that, and then it gets put out of their mind and 3 years later they haven't thought about it again.